Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Tuesday night in the spotlight. Tonight, I have joining me Jocelyn Doyle of Trust in the Journey. And Jocelyn is a holistic energy practitioner who was guided into combining soul retrieval with Reiki and chakra balancing, which allows the traumatic events that we've had happen in our lives to be pieced back together. So this is an amazing survival technique and allows us to continue to function and move forward. If we ever need to break that cycle and heal, Jocelyn is the person to get to. After experiencing many of her own traumatic events where soul pieces were left off, Jocelyn understands that there's a dissociation that's connected to the trauma, along with the importance of the healing work that's necessary for all of us. The combination of soul retrieval with Reiki allows for an intense healing session to be done in the most gentle way. Jocelyn's clients have experienced amazing sessions, and I'm one of them, where they have traveled to past lives, where they feel the energy moving, where the realignment of their souls leaves them feeling completely connected. Clients are easily experiencing this through remote sessions. In the future, when allowed due to COVID, in-person appointments will be offered as well. And if you guys are wanting to connect with Jocelyn, her Facebook page is facebook.com/jocelyn.doyle333. So thank you so much, Jocelyn, for joining us here tonight. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank
So
you,
for people who are just joining the call and who might not know what soul retrieval is, can you share with us what is soul retrieval?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Catherine.
Yeah.
So soul retrieval is where we're going to be going on a journey, and we're going to go back and we are going to a trauma situation, not necessarily the actual trauma situation, but we are going to journey and we're going to pick up a piece of the soul fragment that has been left. A lot of healing is done on that soul fragment and in that journey. And then we're going to reconnect it to your soul piece, essentially. I do bring in the Reiki and chakra balancing with the soul retrieval. And the reason why I do is because Reiki, you're moving the energy blocks and you're moving, the fears and doubts, and you're balancing your chakras with Reiki, and you're making space for this healed soul piece to come in. Like, you really wanted to reconnect and want to reconnect. So you have to clear up the space for it first. So that is what these sessions essentially are. I'll get into a little more details later on.
Absolutely. So can you explain to us, how did you get started with this?
Well, so I have lived through a lot of trauma in my life, and through therapy sessions learned that I disassociate during the trauma situations, which is a great survival technique. It really, it's amazing. It allows you to keep going. You can share stories. It's almost like it didn't happen to you, you can still talk about it. Yeah. The problem is, if you never go back and heal that, then it's never healed. You lose memory. You lose memory of the situation, and you can lose memory ongoing. Things can trigger it. The smallest things that you don't even expect to happen can trigger you, so you feel like you're right back in the middle of that trauma, and all the same emotions are coming back. So I have done therapy, and it was a combination of therapy and learning about these soul retrievals and doing these soul retrievals that really moved my progress forward. I thought on like an emotional sort of scientific way, you go to the therapy to get some of the healing that way, but on a soul level way, the soul retrieval, I just connected with it so much when I learned about it. And, with the remote and the journeys, it's all sort of a part of that disassociation, that astral traveling, to be able to do those pieces. And I just have such an understanding and a respect for going back to those situations and healing that soul piece and bringing it back and connecting it, and know the benefits. It really connected the dots for me. When I learned about this and started doing it, I'm so passionate about it because it gave a purpose to all of that trauma. It gave a purpose to, my life and why all of that happened, that it's brought me to this spot where I can share this healing with others.
That's absolutely beautiful. And I've been so blessed to be able to witness your journey of almost being afraid
Yes,
of what your gifts were, to stepping into those gifts and being able to share the power of what those gifts are, which to me actually remarks the incredibleness of what the modality is doing in the first place. You know?
exactly. Absolutely. Like, without going back and doing that healing, you're always kind of living a fear-based life.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the purpose of these sessions and going back and doing that healing.
Yes. Absolutely. So would you say that anybody could have this healing done? Or would you say that someone needs to be open to the healing? Do they need to have worked on some of their own traumas in the first place? Like, what's kind of the ideal for a client coming in for a session?
So I would say that you need to be open for it. Like, ideally, you need to be open for it. You need to be ready to be able to release for the benefits, for the best benefits. I am a healing practitioner, and to your point, I had my own fears that I was still working with. I've been to sessions, and I've, like, where I believe in them, I 100% believe in them, and I've gone to them, and I wasn't open. And I wasn't open not because I didn't believe in them, but I wasn't open because I was scared. So I was scared that the healing practitioner was going to witness some of my traumas or know about them intuitively and may judge me, which, by the way, I've never actually had happen.
Nope.
Like, ever.
It's
First
really
of all,
us
I've never had it.
ourselves, right?
Yeah, I've never been judged, and if any, like, and I've never really had any of the traumas come up. If there's any part of a detail of the trauma come up, it's specifically for a message to be given. It's never like, it's not just happening. They don't know everything that's gone on in your life just because you've gone to somebody intuitive. You know? So, and that doesn't happen in my sessions either. Like, I don't, unless there's a reason for me to actually sort of see what the trauma is, I'm not seeing any of that piece either in the journey. So, so there's no worry about that. My second fear was, like, trauma makes you strong. You get a strength from trauma that you just don't have without it. And I was afraid if I had this healing done that I might lose that strength.
Oh, interesting.
And that didn't happen either. It shifted it. It shifted it from that fear-based strength where you're like, yep, plow through, get this done. But you're like, your chest is tight, you're anxious, you're, jumpy, and you're just plowing through. You're not even thinking, like,
Yeah.
To more of a heart-based strength where you can actually put some thought into how to move forward and have some calm moving forward and, some clarity with that strength. And it's such a different spot to be in. Not to say that I don't still have the other once in a while, but I didn't lose my strength just because healing started. And the third reason, because I had to ask myself too, like, why are you not as open in these? Like, why are you going to these sessions that you believe in, that you do yourself, and not be open? Like, why are you doing this? And the third one also surprised me when I thought about this. And it's, I was afraid of losing my identity. Like, who was I going to be? If I've been a person who's lived with trauma for years, most of my life. So who am I if that's not a part of me anymore and that's healed?
Yeah.
And that ended up being fine too. Because the things I've learned is going to healing sessions, it's done by layers. It is not a magical pill. It's not a one session, you're cured, you're good to go. It's layers. You have free will. So nothing's being released that you're not ready to release. Nothing. Nothing's coming in that you don't allow. Like, that's, not being open in healing sessions, I still received healing. But the healing I received was more maybe surface based. So I slept a little better. I felt a little better and less anxiety. There's like some of those great things that come with healing. And I felt lighter, you know, a lot of that stuff. Opening up and going to a session, it was like night and day. I honestly don't know what I was scared of before. I mean, the clarity that came in, on top of being able to sleep better and feeling lighter and less anxious and whatever, the clarity that came in, the like manifesting of, you know, I want tickets and they show up, or the colors, like just seeing colors brighter and noticing nature, like just life sort of changed around you, you know, after being open. And I'd highly recommend, for the most benefits, to come to these sessions as open as you possibly can, knowing being trauma based myself, I know some of the fears coming into it. I'm not going to know what your trauma is. We're not, you know, that this isn't, we don't need to talk. I mean, if you want to, that's up to you, but it's not something that I'm going to bring up. I'm not going to know about it. You're going to get to release at your own level when you're ready to. You know, it's not, I don't decide how much you're releasing and how much you're healing. You decide that.
Yeah.
I'm just a resource helping, you know, I'm just helping you get to the spot that you want to get to.
Absolutely.
And knowing that it's layers, right? Like it's not a night and day, you're good. So,
nope, it's not.
No, it is layers.
What would you suggest to someone who might have experienced a lot of trauma, that believes in energy healings and wants to go, but isn't even sure whether or not they're open to receiving that, or whether they've actually got some of the same fears that you've just talked about? How would you express to them how they could actually help themselves to be able to receive at a deeper level?
So for me, I set intentions. Setting intentions is huge. So I went into my first session when I was first open, and then it was easier after that to do it. And I set the intention to be open. I set the intention, you know, I'm ready for this. I'm open. I want to let go of these things. I want to heal. I'm ready. I'm open. And if there's, I'm a pretty open person. So if there's people that if they even just need to feel a little better connection with me or have some questions or anything, and they feel that would help them feel a little bit more open, I have absolutely no problems. Like, ask me anything, that's fine. And before the sessions, I always do ask that people sort of write down what they're ready to release and what they're ready to manifest. Now, nobody else has to see this unless you feel like sharing it with anybody. Like, I don't ask to look at it or anything. It's your own thing. So there's so much of it that's really just private to yourself that you're not actually, where you're setting those intentions, you're writing those things down. I'm not seeing them. Nobody else needs to see them. I mean, burn them afterwards if you want to, like whatever you want to do, that are not shared with anybody else, which being in my position is really important to me. If you want to share, you can, but it's really important to me that that's not something that has to be done.
Yeah. So Darren is asking, and sorry, I just have to scroll up a little bit because he's got a few questions.
Sure.
He's saying that you answered his question while you spoke, because he was saying he understands that you're a resource, but do you guide the individual through the layers due to the fears that you spoke about? And then he goes on to say, what's a common fear that you have seen? And do you typically start at where the fear is? Similar to what you said about the intentions, do you let them kind of know what it is that they're talking about? And I guess this is the part where you answered the question. So let's go back to, I guess, the common fears that you're seeing, and do you guide people through the session to help them get to those kind of core areas that they're needing healing?
So when a session is happening, there's really not a whole lot of talking going on. They are remote sessions right now. They might be different if they're in person, because maybe I'll go through sort of how a process of a session happens.
Sounds good.
And it might make it understandable and answer some of these questions. So how it'll start, we'll schedule a session. Before the session, I do actually send you a preparation and process sheet so you can sort of see some of the steps to get ready and sort of what I'm going to be doing on my end. I will give you the option of whether, again, I'm trying to be very respectful to everybody. So I will give the option of, I can message you just before I'm ready to start, or some have asked for a video call like this so that they can just do a little connection before, and that's fine too. So some want one, some want the other. We can do whichever way. I do ask that you write your intentions, so what you want to release and what you want to manifest. I do ask that you have a quiet space for the length of time of your session. Majority of the sessions have been an hour long, but I also do offer 30 minutes, which is 1 soul retrieval, the hours, 3 soul retrieval, or up to 2 hours, which is 5 soul retrievals. So I do ask whatever one you've booked that you have the quiet space to go to. Catherine, you chose an Epsom salt bath, so that was pretty cool. I've had some do meditation stance, like sitting in a meditation pose. I've had some in their own healing rooms, some just on their bed. You can be out in nature, whatever, as long as you're comfortable, you're relaxed, and you're not going to be disturbed. I suggest lighting incense or candles, but please note, if you're lighting candles, you may fall asleep. So there's some safety concerns there, making sure that you're aware of that before you choose which ones you like. Putting on some meditation music or soft music. Again, it's really, with the remote sessions, you really get to have some control over your environment and your setting, what makes you relax, what helps you relax and get into these sessions. So it's whatever you want there. I spend about half an hour before the session getting ready. I have a lot of different things that I get ready. I have an altar that I get ready to bring in the Mother Earth energy. I've got my Yoda over here in my bed. We bring in some crystals. I have a lot of tools that I use. So there's a bit of time getting ready. And then I let you know, okay, we're going to start. So when I'm going through the session, you're now just laying there quietly. We aren't remote like this, like a video, for the actual session itself. I will start with Reiki, and I'll start at your crown and third eye. So this is where the Reiki is going to start. I will send Reiki, do some energy, remove energy blocks and so on. And then I will journey there. So I will tell you about the journeys afterwards, but I journey there. And then when I'm done the journey, we find the soul piece. I do a lot of healing once we find the soul piece. So I will see visions to journey, and I will see a journey, and we'll see a place where we're at. I will see different things about where we're at. I may see you at a different age. I may see you as a different gender. I may see different clothes on you. Like sometimes I don't see any clothes. Sometimes I see sort of old-fashioned clothes, or like anything can happen in those journeys. Like I have no idea. I can not ever tell you before they happen what's going to happen. It's just, we do this journey. And then I don't actually see you pick up a soul piece. That doesn't happen. I feel when you're at the spot and it's there and you're ready. And then I do the healing. And part of the healing, we're bringing in the violet flame. We're doing healing for ancestral healing. Like we're going all the way down to when Creator first created you, all the way through the archives. We're asking for yourself and your family for this healing. There's a lot being done. It's a really intense healing going on there to heal the soul piece before it reconnects. And then I'll know you'll start glowing. And it might be a different color. It might be one of the chakra colors. It might be white. You'll start glowing. And that's and you'll feel lighter. And that's when I know that the healing has happened. And then I clear. And this is why the clearing is why I don't do remote. So I have a Kong thing that I use. It like shakes, makes a lot of noise. There's a singing bowl. There's a shaman drum. There's sprays. There's stage, Palo Santo. Like there's a lot going on for the clearing and pulling out any remaining things that are being stubborn and need to come out of those chakras. And in person, you'll know when I stand up. In remote, you may have fallen asleep, and I don't want to scare the shit out of you. So, so this is why I don't do the videos as of yet. And then I move down to your heart and your throat chakra. Again, we start with Reiki. And then again, we do a journey and the clearing, and then move down to your solar, sacral, and root chakras. Start with Reiki, clearing again. So if it's a one soul, that's the 3 soul retrieval. And then I end at your feet to ground you, to celebrate the soul piece, come in and do the final releasing and chakra balancing. Do your final little chakra balance and then come let you know that we're done. That's for the 3 soul retrieval. If it's 1, I will just journey at the head. So start with Reiki, journey here, and then I will do the Reiki and chakra. If it's 5, then I will do a journey at each knee. From my experience, both receiving the healing, Reiki healing, and giving it, knees are attached to emotions. So that's where number 4 and 5 would happen. And then, so I notify you that we're done. I take about 15 to 20 minutes to just sort of write all the journeys down. While I still have them in my head, I need to write them down. And then just to clear the space, I just like to clear the space of all the energies. There's a lot of energies. And then we reconnect on Facebook video or chat or however works best. And we discuss what's happened. So I'll let you know about the journeys that have happened, any spirit animals that have come through. We'll go over, anything else that's come in that I've seen, I will tell you about. And again, at the end, when I'm doing the grounding, there's always another vision there too that I always feel is important to share. Like there's always something there. So I share that as well. And then you share your experience. And so we never really actually talk about the trauma part itself, but that doesn't mean that I'm not open to it. If somebody is having some more anxiety about it and they want to have a conversation before, then I just highly recommend, like, you know what, then let's do the video chat before. Let's not just do the message. Let's do the video chat. Go over again what we're going to do. Show you my room. It's all ready to go and what I'm using, and, just calm you down a little bit, send some healing there. And then we'll start the session. Obviously, I want people to be comfortable. This isn't, I don't see the actual traumas in the journeys. It's very seldom. The odd past life one has maybe come through a little bit, but it's come through because there is a message with it. Mostly I don't see the actual traumas, and it's whatever you're actually ready to release. So that's, whatever you've written down, set your intentions of what you're ready to heal and release. And it's just a layer being done.
Yeah.
Now, I do think it's important that you also know, like, the healing doesn't end when the session's done. It's still happening. So, you've just brought these soul pieces in, and that's all well and great that we've done that part of it. But it's very important, to drink some water, maybe have a salt bath or at least a foot soak, because it's really grounding to do a salt foot soak. Only for about 20 minutes is good. Walk barefoot in nature, like do some extra self-care, get some grounding stones, because it's still, the healing's still happening. Yeah. And some clients have been okay. And, maybe little things, but mostly they've been okay. And others have really had a little bit of an emotional roller coaster the first couple of days, and then had the benefits coming in, the clarity and the benefits.
I always feel it takes time to integrate. When you've had an energy session of any sort of time, you need time to integrate that into your body, because you're now at a different level, if we can call it that. And we need to get used to kind of walking at this different level. It's kind of like when a kid's just about to go through a growth spurt and you start to see them like walking into walls or tripping over their own 2 feet or whatever. It's because they're not used to this bigger body. And so they need to step into it and get used to it. And then they can run with it, and there's no tripping over their own 2 feet, unless you're like me and you're an adult. What I found to be so interesting with my own soul retrieval that I received from you was the images that I was receiving when we ended up getting on the chat with each other afterwards. Some of these same images that I had received, you had also received, which really just confirmed the journey that I guess we had both gone on together. Like, it was just kind of mind blowing and incredible what you were sharing with me.
Yeah. So some clients journey like you did, and if that's the case, then it's quite often most of it connects. And some don't journey. Some are just, they're feeling the heat. They're feeling the movement of the energy in their bodies. They're feeling certain pressure points, like they'll feel the pressure points in their stomach or somewhere and then feel it release. They might see some colors, and they're not actually doing the full journey. But when I share the journey stories and when I share the spirit animals that have come up, and some of the colors that have come up, and they may go and do a little bit of research on the spirit animals, and then they come back and they're like that was spot on. That's exactly what's going on right now. And so it's interesting how everybody is a little different, but every single one has resonated with everyone that I've done. Like, there hasn't been any that have said, well, no, I don't, like, that doesn't make sense to me. They've all completely at the end just been like, wow. So it is very interesting. I should also mention, like, it is an intense energy healing session, and we are journeying. So part of my preparation is I am doing layers and layers of protection, doing a bubble of protection around me, around my family, around my pets, anybody in my household, again, around you as a client, your family, anybody in your household, around my healing room, around where you've chosen to be, around my house, around my perimeter, around your house, your perimeter. Like, I'm doing layers and layers of protection prior to us going into any of the session at all, because we are journeying. So it's important that we have that protection there.
Absolutely. Now, do you mind if I share a bit of what
No, please go ahead.
Please. Okay. So, and it's funny because even just talking about the integration, there's aha moments that have come since the session where when I was in the session, I was receiving the information from my point of view at that point of time. But since the session, new information came in that was like, oh, yeah, that's actually what that was showing me. So there's a few different things, and see, you can see my soul just get,
I know.
It was so cool. So what I experienced when I was doing it was I decided I was going to have a bath because baths are my happy place. And then when I was in the actual session, I was seeing myself floating down a river in a canoe. Yeah. And that was something that came up for you as well.
Exactly.
And we got to a waterfall, which had a book that was like kind of spinning. And I had picked up the book and going through the book and everything else. And this is the great thing about doing these kind of energy journeys, I guess, is it's almost like a dream where it's like, I don't know how I got from one point to another. Yes. But at one point, the canoe ended up going inside of my body. And I was suddenly going down the rivers of my bloodstream, I guess, and seeing all of the cells as they all work together, but then also seeing each and every single one of us as humans, as all cells within the world, and how we all have to work together. But when our cells in our bodies turn on each other and attack each other, it's the same as us turning on each other in the world and attacking each other in the world. And then there was also the image of me laying, I seen God's hands, and I was laying in God's hands, and they had them like that. And I kept falling out of the hands and onto the ground, and then little pieces broke off, and it was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I'd get back in the hands, and I'd fall again, and I'd have these pieces break off. And this is where the shift in perception happened, because I've been reading this book called Rise, Sister, Rise by Rebecca Campbell, I believe. And in the book, she talks about how often we don't surrender to God, to Goddess, whatever. And that if we can just imagine ourselves sitting in God's hands and allowing God to hold on to us. So I thought it was God blowing me off every time, like, you're going back down to earth. But no, it was me jumping out of God's hands, because I like to try and have this control. And that's what a lot of the healing I needed or wanted around was letting go of the control of situations and outcomes and allowing myself to fully surrender. And then there was also that aspect of the past life that came forward with
Yes.
the old man in front of
Yeah.
the castle. And this was a past life that I had experienced, what did I say, like 9 years ago or something?
Yeah.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
And I was like this old witch doctor in the middle of the forest, and the townspeople had asked me to come out of the woods so that I could bring healing to someone, but it was like a trick, and they ended up
Yeah.
killing me. And I realized you had brought that up as well. And I was at peace when I did the past life regression. I felt like I was so much at peace with that incident. Like it was like they just don't understand. And that's not the only past life that I've had where I've been like, oh, it's okay. They just didn't
Yeah.
understand. They killed me because they didn't
Yeah.
understand. It's okay. It's okay. And what I
Totally.
realized after having the session with you was how often I don't allow myself to get angry or
Yeah.
give myself
That
permission to
little
be angry.
denial, put it away in a box. Yeah.
Yes, and it's okay. They don't understand. And now it's like, whoa, I get an opportunity to be angry. And it's okay
Yeah.
to be angry if someone kills you. You have a right to be angry.
Absolutely.
So huge shifts just in the perception of what I'd been holding on to and what I was now willing to actually release in a different way than what I had been in the past. So thank you so much for that. And I really hope
Yeah.
other people will join you for a session, because it was really eye-opening for me during the session and after the session. And I know you've got some other stories to share with us about what other people have experienced as well.
Yes. So I just wanted to mention that like that journey that we went on where I actually saw your death happen, that is not a normal thing that comes through, but for you it was important. Like
Yeah.
we needed to discuss that part, that the death had happened for your healing. So that's an example of where the detail sometimes is needed, but it's not usually the case. So, and I also think it's cool how you mentioned that that's a past life that you've also experienced like 9 years ago. Because I have had recently a client who'd come for a second session, and in one of the journeys during the second session, I was like, I've been here before. Like, I've been here before. And it was interesting because it's a past life one. So like yourself, it was a female client who was actually a male in this journey. Same clothes, same, town, same shop that we went into. And I was like, I think it was with this person too. So, after we did the healing session and we finished, because I write everything down and I journal it afterwards, I was able to look back and I was like, it was. So it's really neat how that happens, because that just goes on to like the layers, this time in that journey felt a little lighter than the last time in that journey to begin with, so there's obviously some more healing that needed to be done in that past life, in that spot. But it was like the difference of somebody walking like this in the first one to kind of walking like this, like that was a difference in the journey itself already. So, to be able to see the layers of that healing was pretty cool. And then I also asked this particular client, because we did a sort of chat beforehand, and I just kind of mentioned, I said, so did you happen to remember what you sort of wrote down for your release and manifest from the last one? And are you able to tell me if there was any progress or you saw anything happen there? And I could see the wheels where she's like, yeah, like actually, she's, because you write them down and then you forget about them, right? Like, so you may not actually notice some of those benefits that are actually happening. You need to remember the healing still happening afterwards. Being open to seeing those things. The relationships was something that she mentioned, that she felt more connected in relationships to family and friends and coworkers, family especially. Like, come on, we're all been stuck home with our family for a long time right now. Like there is definitely some reconnecting to family that I'm sure could happen for most of us for those pieces. And I do send afterwards another sheet where I'm sort of talking about the aftercare pieces and some of the benefits to watch for and see coming up as well. Because, you know, you had the session, you're kind of still in a trance, you're not remembering everything. I think that these sheets are helpful. It's just, you know, and I will check in as well. I always check in, just how you feeling, you know, do a reminder of remember to ground yourself, remember to drink lots of water, keep a journal. There's a lot of dreams that come through after these sessions. So it may distract your sleep, but there's a lot of dreams that come through. There's, you know, some more clarity. There's like just different things like that. You feel lighter, you're less anxious, you're not engaging in shit conversations, or, you know, like, just some of those benefits just sort of shift, right?
Yeah. Who would you say would be an ideal client to come in for these sessions? Is it someone that's already done some energy healing work? Is it someone who's just willing to make a change? Do they need to have connection to what their past lives have been or not? Or
I've done sessions for all of that spectrum. So
okay.
I have done sessions for people who have never had an energy healing session done before in their lives. One of these particular clients who I've done a session for in that situation, she didn't go on the journeys like you went on the journeys. You know, you've had a lot of healing done and stuff. So she didn't go on that, but the changes in her life since that, she's had so much clarity come through. She has not always had the best relationship with her family, and has recently even messaged me to say, you know what, I reached out to them and I'm good. Like, I'm comfortable doing this now. And so like the changes that way, and that's somebody who's never ever had an energy healing session done ever, to yourself, who, you know, has had energy healing sessions done and joined me, and then had these things come through for you, these clarity pieces of healing come through for you as well.
Yeah. Now, Janice is asking, how often would you suggest for people to have a session?
So 100%, you want to at least minimum a week in between sessions.
Okay.
I made this mistake when I first started doing them, and I had a spiritual hangover for a week. So I do not, you want a minimum of a week in between sessions, 100%.
Okay.
I would say you may even want 2 weeks in between sessions, because I think it's really still healing for the 2-week period. The first 3 days are the most intense, but it's really, and it could still be for months, but 2 weeks, you're still having some of the healing pieces and the aha moments and things coming up. But I mean, as long as it's past the week, if you're feeling, everybody's in a different spot, you know? So if the week has gone past and you're like, that was great, and I felt great, and now I'm like, I need some more, then, you know, trust yourself.
Yeah.
Right. But for sure, not before, I won't even schedule before a week's up. Like, I won't even do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that.
I learned my lessons the hard way. So.
But and you can go into a spiritual hangover with any type of energy session where it's just,
it was terrible.
Again,
great after, but it was like, headache, tired, dreams. And I was like, why? I thought this stuff was done. Like, you know, it was just, I was like, oh, this is so that I learn my lesson.
Now, what have you found to be the most unique session that you've done so far? Or is there one that kind of sticks out as like, wow, this is really absolutely amazing?
Well, so one journey that I went on sort of threw me off, because I went to the blue Arcturians. Now, I've sort of heard of them. I can't even tell you a whole lot about them. I really didn't know anything about them. But I journeyed to them and saw somebody there. And that sort of threw me off. It was, everybody was blue and everything in there was blue. I've also journeyed to Atlantis. That was pretty cool too. So some of the journeys are pretty pretty unique. Sometimes the journeys are in like the archangels area. I find that there's a cave up where the archangels are that we will go to, and that feels like that's sort of a heavy journey, like a heavy healing session place. So that's, we're not going to a past life. Sometimes they just bring you to a spot where it needs to be extra protected and extra white light coming in to do a healing session. Because we don't get into the traumas, or have not gotten into them, I can't say, you know, people will only offer what they offer as to their experiences and how it's benefited them. So I can't necessarily say, oh, someone came to me with this trauma and then this happened for them, because we don't get into them. Nor I would have to also ask for permission to share that. Obviously, I wouldn't be sharing that if that was the case so much, but you know, I have had everybody say they've noticed the benefits of the clarity, the less anxious, the aha moments coming in, the, you know, opportunities opening up, and the release too, even for myself, is like, it's not this like hard, fast release. Sometimes it's sort of, you kind of just realize one day, oh, like I haven't eaten junk for a while and I didn't even notice, you know, like you've sort of shifted to choosing the fruits and vegetables over the chips and chocolate, and it just sort of happened, you know, like, so there isn't that struggle with the release after some of the sessions for some of those things. Another thing that I find interesting is a couple of my clients have had, they have pets, dogs especially. My dog is always in my healing sessions. So I have mentioned, after one client said to me, she's like, oh, my dog was pawing at the door the whole time. I'm just going to go for a walk quickly afterwards and then we can reconnect. And I was like, oh, that was happening because your dog was feeling the energy. Like, so if they're allowed in the room that you're choosing to have your healing session, just bring them in. And I had one client who shared with me afterwards that she'd had her dog at the vet's for anxiety that morning. And during the healing session, she just laid there the whole time and was calm and laid the whole time. When I let her know we were done, then she jumped up on the bed and was like licking her face, but didn't move the whole session. And I had another lady who's got a shepherd, young shepherd, who's super hyper. So when I shared that with her, she was like, yeah, he's not going to calm down. He's so hyper. I'm like, just, if he's loud, let him in. She said he was like snoring. He was out the whole session. So they like the energy healing as well. And one lady from out west who I did a healing session with, she said she's had remote sessions before, but in our session, she was actually able to feel the heat on her head and the different spots of her body and the energy flowing. And she's like, I've never actually felt that before. And I'm in Ontario, she's out west, you know, like that's the beauty of remote, is it doesn't, like, distance isn't a thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not. It's all about setting the intentions.
Absolutely. Very cool. So how can people get a hold of you if they're wanting to book a session?
So my Facebook page is probably the best way. So Trust in the Journey, or even personal, is fine. I do have a Trust in the Journey website. However, I have been notified that emailing me through that website, it's for some reason it's not connecting. If people, you know, want to email me directly, then that works, just not that way. So it's info@trustinthejourney.ca. Or by Facebook. I have my Trust in the Journey Facebook page, or even personally is fine, is the best way. If you do look up my site, I do have a cell phone. They can text or call as well. That's not a problem. And yeah, they're pretty amazing sessions. So I do offer the 1 soul retrieval, which is about a half an hour session. The 3 soul retrieval, which is the most popular for the most part, and that's about an hour. And then the 5 soul retrieval. So that's more like about an hour and a half to 2 hours. I'd say each journey is anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes. And then you've got like 5 minutes of clearing going on. So, so it takes a little bit of time.
And what is the prices for a 1 soul journey, a 3 soul journey, and a 5 soul journey?
So it's $75 for the 1 soul journey with the Reiki and chakra balancing, $125 for the 3, and then $200 for the 5.
Okay, awesome. And a little birdie told me that you might be hosting a contest right now to win a free session.
That is correct. We actually on Free or Cheap Kitchener. So if anybody's not on there, go on there. Sylvia has posted a contest for 1 free 3-soul retrieval session. So it's worth $125. Basically, like and share my Trust in the Journey page and comment that you want to enter the contest. And then it is going to be drawn next Tuesday night.
Awesome. That sounds so amazing.
Really,
and Sylvia's just amazing at helping people get out there as well. Like, she's fantastic. So I always like to ask people, what kind of words of wisdom, if you could let the world know one thing right now, what would you want the world to know?
Well, in this past year, I've had a lot thrown at me, and I would say, like, just keep going. You know, things do get better. Healing is possible, and it doesn't need to be a race. It doesn't need to be immediate. Progress is progress. You know, be gentle and kind to yourself, forgiving.
Beautiful.
As you know, as we mentioned earlier, the whole "can you hear me now" for 2020, I have had a lot of that hit me in the face this year. So
and you know what, I think a lot of people have, like,
exactly.
I remember last October, November, I kept hearing 2020, it's clear vision. Clear vision, clear vision, clear vision. And then I started seeing everyone else that I'm connected to that's very intuitive or whatnot. They were all creating workshops that were like 2020 clear vision, 2020 clear vision. And I was like, this is really interesting. Like, it's going to be an amazing year. Yeah. And then 2020 happened.
You know what? It has been.
Absolutely, it has been, because there's clear vision into ourselves and all of the healing that we need to do, or that we've already done, or what our purpose is. And sometimes it feels like a slap upside the head when it's coming in, but it's exactly what we've been asking for, just maybe not in the ways that our minds had decided that it could come forward, you know? And now because I've had so many Zoom calls this week that people are having trouble with the audio and stuff. And eventually when they get connected, just like you tonight, they get on and they're like, can you hear me now? And I'm like, this is the hashtag for 2020. And it's like, our guides are saying, hey, can you hear us now? Can you hear what we're saying to you now? And I absolutely
felt that on a very deep level. Yes.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Like, it's just a matter of, you know, the shadows make that light shine brighter. If this clear vision piece started coming to us without that dark that happened first, we wouldn't have seen it.
Or appreciated it.
We would have taken it for granted. We wouldn't have seen it. We wouldn't have actually done anything with it. Like, 2020 has been the worst and best year. Like, you know, maybe a little bipolar.
So we've got Sylvia Alex saying deja vu moment listening to this session. Very interesting. So
good.
It's good feedback for you.
That's great. Thank you, Sylvia.
So we've got how people can book a session with you, what they need to kind of know to prepare. Is there anything else that you think anyone should know before booking a session with you, or anything that you would like them to know about booking a session with you?
I think just, again, like reiterating that the healing isn't done there, that there's still a piece that you need to continue to do. So making sure that you're not booking it and then you've got like, you know, meeting after meeting after meeting at work or something. Like you want to book your session to have the time of your session, but then you want to be aware of what the next couple days are. Because I don't know, everybody's been different, but if you're somebody who ends up dreaming a lot and maybe having a little bit of heaviness or emotions come up to the surface during those first couple of days with the healing going on, you don't want to be stuck in an anxious or stressful situation for
Absolutely.
that. So, you know, making sure you're also making time for the self-care pieces afterwards to keep yourself grounded. It's really an important part of the healing. Like it would be like getting a tattoo and them telling you how to look after it and you not doing anything and then wondering why it looks like shit. You know, like you do need to still do the aftercare.
Absolutely. And we've got Bridget asking, what is the cost? And I know you've already shared this once. She must have missed that bit. If you could share that with her.
Sure. So a 30-minute, which is 1 soul retrieval, the Reiki and chakra balancing, is $75. 3 soul retrieval, which is about an hour, and Reiki and chakra balancing is $125. And then the 5 soul retrieval, which probably take close to 2 hours, definitely 1.5 to 2 hours, is $200.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that again.
And again, just going over again, like there is a lot going on in these. It is an intense healing session. So we're journeying to heal some soul fragments and bring in the soul pieces. We're doing some ancestral healing. We're doing the Reiki. We're doing the chakra balancing. So there is a lot going on. Absolutely.
Now we've got Teresa, who's on here, Sweet and Low, saying grounding is the most important thing for all of us to do to keep us maintained.
Yes.
And I 100% agree with that. Would you be able to share with anyone who might actually not know what grounding is and different steps they can do to ground themselves?
Sure. So grounding is just kind of, look at it like if you're in a high anxious situation and then calming down. So that's the easiest way to sort of describe, like you're up here and then calming you down is the easiest way to describe what grounding is. But ways to do that: walking barefoot outside where your feet are touching the ground, like the earth. That is a really great way. I've done that grounding before when I've actually felt sick to my stomach from anxiety. That one's worked for me. Having an Epsom salt bath, or even just a foot soak. Again, like your feet, they really are the key spot for grounding a lot of the times. So an Epsom foot soak bath, 20 minutes is good. Like that's pulling out the toxins, just getting but making sure the salt's in there, getting that there. Drinking lots of water helps as well. Eating, the fruits and vegetables, the earth-grown fruits and vegetables will help. There are some grounding stones that you can get. There's some smoky quartz, some obsidian, some various different grounding stones that you can get at almost any holistic store, I would say. Those are some of the key ones. Breathing as well. Just, doing the deep breath in, hold, out, and just doing like a few of those. And then there's the see 5 things in your room, the feel 5 things, hear 5 things, that piece too. And then 4, and then 3, those things help as well. Another sort of quick one is tapping. So, you could tap on your collarbones or even just tapping on your knees. Just a nice, even tapping. It just kind of brings you back again and has your brain sort of right and left working. So those are a few different off the top of my head things that you can do for grounding.
Perfect. I think that's wonderful. And Stephanie is asking, do you know when you're done if all of your soul is retrieved?
So no, it is not. It's soul pieces and it's layers of healing. So similar to sort of when I mentioned that, like, I've had one client just come for 2 sessions and one of the journeys was the same past life journey because it needed some deeper healing. So it's like if you broke your arm and you went to physio, you're not going to go there for one session and everything's cured. You know, you have to sort of think about it a little bit like that. Like there's exercises to do. You need to go for a couple sessions, and there may be pieces of that broken arm that still affect you years down the road. So it is healing and it is helping to bring in pieces. But I don't think we ever really get to, while we're here on earth, the one soul together. Like
absolutely, because at this point it's doing all of the healing around what's happened in this lifetime.
Exactly.
And then also looking at every other incarnation that you've had to
where healing wasn't done yet. Yeah.
Those experiences as well, which could be a lot depending on what those experiences were for that soul's development. So yeah, I could see it taking many, many, many sessions.
Yes.
And a lot of healing work in order to bring all of those fragmented soul pieces back to a person.
Absolutely.
And do you do, so Teresa, she does do all of her sessions right now are remote. She was asking if you would do a Zoom healing because she's not able to travel right now. So absolutely, yes. Teresa, she will. And I will put her Facebook page on the comments hereafter. So that way, anyone that's wanting to connect with her will be able to connect with her through the Facebook page that I add. Yeah. And then again, there's the contest for anyone who's just joining us. There's the contest over at Free or Cheap Kitchener. You just need to like that group. And then what's the process that people need to take? So like the Free or Cheap Kitchener.
So you want to go into the Free or Cheap Kitchener, and then you're actually going to be liking my Trust in the Journey page and sharing my Trust in the Journey page and commenting on the contest in Free or Cheap Kitchener. So you may need to join it in order to see it. I'm not 100% sure. Okay. On that piece, I'm not gonna lie, but yes. So Sylvia's put the comment on Free or Cheap Kitchener. She's going to bump it a couple times. I will as well. And then just like my Trust in the Journey page, share it, and just comment to say that you want to be a part of the contest.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Jocelyn.
Thank you, Catherine.
It's been so great to chat with you.
You as well. I think you're amazing doing all of these spotlights. I just absolutely admire you for that. You are an amazing intuitive and healer yourself. And I think it's great that you open this up for everybody.
Yeah, because really what it comes down to is I was given so many opportunities, and this is my way of being able to give back those opportunities, but also to show people what is all available to them, because a lot of people just don't know. And exactly. The more we have these conversations, the more people will know what's available to them. So
I fully agree. Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again for another Tuesday night in the Spotlight. Next week, we have Susan St. John coming on, and she's going to be talking to us about rethinking God. And I'm really looking forward to that conversation with her because she's got some really interesting points of view on God and religion and all of that. So hope you guys will join us for that. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.